Hi, Greg here for Party Foul. We got Scott behind the camera again, and I'm here to talk about the subject of the War Machine stages of loss grief. That means the stages you go through when you lose a game of War Machine. So this is something I'm very familiar with, and I wanted to talk about why I was thinking about this and why I think it's something important to talk about. I think that recognizing and understanding the stages of War Machine loss grief help you to, first off, deal with the emotions you go through, the various changing emotions. And I'll talk about those stages and the emotions attached to them. And two, being aware of the process can help you process those emotions and move through the stages efficiently, because the process is an important part of the learning journey. So understanding it will help you get through that. Three, some people never make it past certain stages in the loss grief thing. A lot of people get stuck on, say, anger, the depression, or I find that a lot of people get stuck on the excuses portion of it. And fourthly, good players learn good players learn more from their failures than from their successes. They process the stages and they come through having learned and refocused themselves, and that's what makes them good players. I find myself personally that I don't learn as much from winning a game as I do from losses. I certainly scrutinize my losses more than my wins. Okay, so what are the stages of War Machine loss grief? The first is denial, disbelief, and more importantly, disappointment. And the sort of things that you think of when that stage happens, the initial impact is that, what, really? You're stunned, you thought you had it all under control, you're like, what the hell happened? I was robbed, it's over. Especially if the person went for a 40% assassination or 35% assassination, you're like, what the hell? It's over, I failed right out of the gate if this is part of a tournament. And there's no point in carrying on, a lot of dropping happening. Like if you're in the tournament, you just drop because you're like, what's the point, I lost. And sometimes I find that ultimately the first disappointment that I have is that the game is over and that it's no longer going to continue. Because you get kind of really invested in the game, especially if you spend an hour and a half playing it. This disappointment transitions into anger. My opponent cheated me. And that, a lot of people might not have that opponent cheated me, but I do know that it happens. And some people, it'll happen later on that night or the next day or something like that. They'll think something in their mind like my opponent didn't do something correctly, and that makes them angry. Something wasn't made clear, the dice cheated me, and that ultimately the anger turns into a self-directed anger, which leads to the third stage, depression. I suck, I should quit, I'll never be good at this, I'm a failure, I'm not respected, people think I'm a fool. And this leads to the next stage, which is your excuses. Fourth stage, bargaining. If only the dice had been worse or better, if only I'd done this or that, if it was a bad matchup. Basically, you're saying to yourself anything that denies that it was your fault. And the last stage is acceptance. Okay, I made mistakes, my opponent capitalized on them, what can I learn from that failure? And that's the most important stage to reach, is that acceptance stage, because that's when you can start analyzing the game with a clear mind and come to the conclusions that you need to come to learn. So, what is the goal? I got a number of points here to say what your goals are. First off, you should have high standards. You should hold yourself to high standards. You should try to win your games and do the best that you can. So obviously don't aim for failure, but realize that the process will involve failure and welcome it as a learning experience. Realize you won't necessarily be a James Morehouse, but recognize that that shouldn't stop you from learning and having a good time. Second point. Your learning process is going to be a sloppy, big, ugly mess. Learning is painful. Don't expect anything to be perfect. Accept disaster, embrace defeat. Dissect them and pull out what you can to make yourself better, faster, stronger. Third point, recognizing it's all a part of your learning journey and having a learning mindset prevents disappointment. If you embrace the stages of War Machine grief and focus on learning and growing, then disappointment is impossible because everything is a positive outcome. Fourth, constantly strive for perfection, but not to be perfect. The journey is what's important. Don't expect perfection, expect your best. Fifth point, if you're not aiming for perfection, but putting out your best, then how can you be disappointed? You've done your best, you're going to learn from this experience, you've had a good time. There's no need to be disappointed. There's no need to be angry. It's important to recognize that you're going to go through those stages. A lot of people will. Some people faster than others. You're going to experience those emotions, but they're just emotions. You got to get to the point where you're accepting that you made mistakes and that you need to do better next time. So, the takeaways from the stages of loss grief. One, failure defines you, or more specifically, how you deal with failure defines you. And that's how you're going to gain your respect of your opponent and your fellow players. If you can make mistakes and admit it to yourself and to others, then they're going to be respectful of that. Second takeaway, the goal is to get to acceptance and find your learning moment, but every stage is a building block. So don't try to skip it. Don't try to deny that you get a little angry inside or something like that. Third takeaway is realize victory is growing and learning as a player, not necessarily winning games. Fourth takeaway, mastering the grieving process makes you a more efficient and happy player. So know the steps and let the process flow through you to acceptance. Good luck.